Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. My name is John Shipley. I am your host and beat reporter, and I've been your beat reporter covering the Jaguars every single day for On SI since August 2019. And we are continuing to march forward through yet another offseason together. As always, you can find our 100% free 24/7 boots on the ground coverage of the Jacksonville Jaguars every single day on social media such as Facebook and Twitter at Jaguars on SI. And you can also find us at www.si.com/NFL/Jaguars. Okay, folks, welcome to today's episode of the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. Today we are previewing the first day of Jacksonville Jaguars OTAs. We will, of course, be on hand at OTAs throughout the day Monday as the Jaguars, they don't kick off their offseason program. They don't kick off rookies and veterans being together, etc. But OTAs is the next significant step in the offseason. It very soon, fast forward about 2 months, and we'll be into the thick of it in training camp. So OTA is obviously opening up on Monday. Very important. It won't be the first time the rookies and veterans are on the field together. That obviously came this past week. Saw pictures released by the team, Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. together, Trevor Lawrence throwing to Travis Hunter, etc. So it won't be the first time they're practicing together, but it will be the first time they are practicing together in an open setting with media allowed to watch. So obviously, it'll be fascinating to see how the Jaguars deploy, several of their new pieces, what it looks like to have the 90-man roster really all together on the field at once, the new coaching staff, the new schemes on both sides of the ball. Obviously, there is a lot to watch for over the course of OTAs over the next several weeks. So what are we watching for when we head to OTAs today and throughout the next few weeks? There are a few things, and I think there are three very obvious ones. The first one is, of course, Trevor Lawrence's health. What are we going to see from Trevor Lawrence just in terms of reps, etc. The pitch count comment by Liam Cohen was made on April 9th. I was about, not exactly a month and a half ago, but not too far away from being that either. Obviously dealing with the shoulder injury he sustained against the Eagles in Week 9 last year. He missed a little bit of time, tried to come back, ended up getting not just a concussion, but obviously the shoulder just wasn't getting better. The season was at a loss. Goes on IR, gets surgery. Now obviously is trying to get back to 100%. You saw him in a sling at the end of the season. Obviously, he's been out of that. He started the offseason program on April 9th when we spoke to him. Wasn't in a sling or anything like that. So very much seems like he's on, course for being able to do everything that he needs to do to be ready for training camp, the regular season. But just watching, how they handle him, how many reps he takes, how many reps he doesn't take, what exactly his workload is during OTAs will be one of the big things to watch. Because if there's anything that's obvious over the last 2 years, it's that the Jaguars, like any NFL team, desperately need their quarterback to stay healthy. A lot of the Jaguars' issues over the last year and a half after that 8-3 start in 2023 that now seems like happened a different lifetime entirely ago. Most of, the hard times since then can be attributed to Lawrence not being healthy. Even in games that he started, just not being near 100%. That Houston game that he started last year wasn't near 100%. Several games he started in 2023, very clear he wasn't anywhere close to being Trevor Lawrence, really. And when the Jaguars don't have a healthy Trevor Lawrence, like any team that has a talented franchise quarterback, they suffer. So seeing how they, maintain Lawrence, seeing how Lawrence stays healthy this season will obviously be a key factor into whether the Jaguars can make the first season of the Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, Tony Boselli era a success. I'd say it's the biggest thing the Jaguars, need to have on the priority list this season is keeping Trevor Lawrence healthy. Because when he's not healthy, the entire evaluation of really the entire team gets thrown out because he just means so much to the operation and what they're doing and what they're trying to accomplish. Secondly, after Trevor's health, I think Travis Hunter is a very clear, next biggest attraction. We don't know exactly where Travis Hunter will practice. On Monday, he practiced at receiver throughout, the 2 days of rookie minicamp. Liam Cohen said at the conclusion of the second day of rookie minicamp that he would practice at cornerback the following week, which was last week. So have to think that we've seen, or at least he has practiced at both cornerback and receiver to this point. Now, it's also very clear he did a practice on wide receiver as well because we saw pictures of Lawrence throwing him the ball, of him next to Brian Thomas Jr., etc. So one would think probably practicing at receiver today, but that's going to be one of those things that, remains to be seen. We'll see exactly how he's used. It will be a lot easier during training camp to know exactly how many reps they're dividing between offense and defense, because during OTAs, there's gaps in between practices that, we see. We don't see every OTA practice. So it'll be much easier to track, what he's doing exactly once training camp rolls around and we're there, every single day. But still, if he's that wide receiver, I want to see what does connection look like so far between him and Trevor Lawrence. Trevor made it a key point last offseason program to, get the reps of Brian Thomas Jr., try to build that chemistry. And I think you saw the chemistry between the two of them, especially, on the deep ball. And they put in a lot of work last year to make sure they got that chemistry early. So looking to see if he does the same with Travis Hunter this year. Outside of the rest of the rookie class and the free agents, obviously new faces are always something people are looking at. I'm interested to see a new unit. I'm interested to see the offensive line. Now, definitely seems like the Jaguars are experimenting a little bit. We'll see what it looks like in a couple months when the pads are on. We'll see even further beyond that when, the real bullets start flying, who they have out there. But again, in pictures released by the team, it very much looked like their first team offensive line had Fred Johnson at left tackle. And then, of course, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, and Patrick McCary at left guard, center, and right guard. The right tackle wasn't pictured. Are they going to not have Walker Little and Anton Harrison in at first-team offensive tackles during OTAs? And how legitimate of a competition is that? Or, is it just a way to try to, light a fire under them to show them, hey, you have to actually win this job. It's not given to you. And like that I can see. But I also think, that's easier to sell when you have a new coaching staff, new players coming in. They don't necessarily owe the old regime's handpicked players anything. But with that said, I think Walker Little and Anton Harrison are far and away the most talented tackles on the Jaguars roster. On their roster. Walker Little specifically. I don't think Little is shown to be like an all-world, all-pro, even Pro Bowl tackle. But I think he's a solid, serviceable starting NFL tackle. And it remains to be seen if they have another one of those as a left tackle option. I remember once upon a time when we were talking about is Anton Harrison going to get moved to left tackle. Now we're wondering if he's going to start a right tackle. So I'm interested to see how they handle the dynamics of the offensive tackle position. Seems pretty obvious. Hainsey and McCary are locked in at both center and right guard. We'll see about Ezra Cleveland at left guard. You have to think Wyatt Milam will push him a good bit, for that job. But I'd say the two offensive tackle spots seem like the most unsettled right now, which, they did add two free agent offensive tackles in Fred Johnson and Shuma Edoga. But it never felt like either one of them was exactly as a replacement. It felt a lot more like they were always as depth. And I don't think the Jaguars would have taken Will Campbell at number 5 if he was there, because I think they would have taken Ashton Jeanty if they stayed at number 5. But in the event the Jaguars took a player like Will Campbell, it does kind of feel like they probably would have played him at left tackle instead of left guard. So it will be interesting to see how the Jaguars are kind of moving forward with the tackle positions because, I don't think anybody thought they were 100% settled, but they seem a lot more unsettled right now than I think anybody, myself especially, gave credit to. So make sure you follow along for all of our OTA coverage. Find us at Jacksonville Jaguars on SI. We'll have observations, live video from press conferences, interviews, etc. Please make sure you subscribe, give us a review, give us a like, follow, whatever on Apple Podcasts and Spotify at the Jacksonville Jaguars Insider Podcast. You can also find all of our podcast, videos, interviews, and such forth at our YouTube channel at Sports Videos on SI.